Welcome to the SwimSwam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. Joining me today, he is a 3-time world championship medalist, 5-time world university game gold medalist, and now 2021 Olympian and Speedo athlete. We are joined today by Zach Apple. Zach, how's it going, man?
Good. I'm happy to be here. Excited to get talking.
Happy to have you on. Let's talk about this big news first and foremost. You're a Speedo athlete now. Can you tell us what that means to you and how this came about in what seemed like a pretty quick fashion?
Yeah, for sure. Growing up, like you think swimming, you think Speedo. It's kind of like everybody's dream. I kind of watching all the greats, feels like they've all been sponsored by Speedo. Michael, and then in the recent years, Caleb, Murphy, Nathan. I mean, all those guys. And so to be able to join that team is kind of a truly special honor, and I'm really excited to be part of that group of guys and girls. But it did kind of come about pretty quickly. Obviously, after I had a pretty successful trials, I kind of got in contact with them, and they were interested, and I was definitely interested. Tried on the shoots. Everything's awesome, and so just kind of a perfect fit, and I'm super excited.
That's really cool. Congratulations. And it seems like from the outsider's perspective, the trajectory of your career so far has just been these really cool little stepping stones. We've certainly covered this before, but I think now is a good time to kind of go back and discuss again your journey. You didn't start swimming super seriously until high school, and then you go to Auburn. You transition to Indiana, and you just continue to progress and progress. You make worlds, make Pan Packs, you make World U's, and have like a breakout meet there where you win 5 gold medals. Do you feel like this is kind of aligning to where your expectations were with taking those steps in your career?
Yeah, definitely. It has kind of been like every year I feel like I've taken another step forward. Kind of starting when I started swimming when I was 16, like seriously. And then every year I just feel like I've taken this step, forward and forward and forward. Now to be on the Olympic team feels like kind of the culmination of all of those years. And then to be with Speedo as well is another, huge step for me, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, it's been kind of cool to see every year progress, making that first world's team in 17. Then every year just getting a little bit faster, getting the individual swims at WUGS, and going to worlds in 19, having some really big breakout swims on the relays has been super awesome. And it kind of set me up into this year. Well, I guess set me up into last year, and then, last year didn't happen. So down to this year, but yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. So let's talk about a couple of those steps. Mm-hmm. Making an Olympic team. When did that come up on your radar as this is not only something I could achieve, but like this is a goal. This is something I want to do more than just being a kid and being like, I want to be on the Olympic team.
Yeah. When I was at trials in 2016, I didn't do anything particularly special. I didn't even make a semifinal. And then our coach at the time, Brett Hawk, was the head coach at Auburn, and he made the team go back to the last session and watch the final session of trials, and then watch the team get named. And that was a pretty big, impactful moment for me. I sat in the stands and watched them come up out of the ground and do the parade around the stadium, and this is your Olympic team. And obviously no one expected me to be on that team, including myself. I wasn't, going to the meet thinking I was going to make the Olympics. But it didn't, if something felt kind of weird, I didn't really like sitting in the stands. I think I've said this conversation before with some of maybe you guys, but it was a couple months after that, my background on my phone was switched to Tokyo 2020, the logo of and since 16 it's been that. And then it's currently now the gold medal for the games. But so ever since 16, it's been on my mind. And then making that team in 17, being part of Team USA officially that first year. And ever since then, I think it's kind of been a reality and something that I've definitely wanted to do and been on my mind.
And in a similar vein, when was becoming a pro athlete, and that now that takes many forms, but specifically having a suit sponsorship, when was that? When did that come up on your radar as like, wow, this is maybe something that I could is attainable for me?
Yeah. I think towards the after I graduated in 2019, I finished my NCAA eligibility, and I was just gonna try to ride out the year and try and get through onto my first Olympic team and kind of see how it went there. A little bit in 2020, I started talking to some companies, and then everything exploded, and obviously nothing was gonna happen then. And so, um, yeah, it's kind of been on my radar for the past couple years, 18 months. But for it to actually come to fruition is pretty cool.
Is it how do you manage doing something that major, signing with a suit company, while you're uh, while you're at training camp or on the road,
Yeah.
Getting ready for these Olympics?
Yeah, it definitely takes a lot of help. Luckily, I have some really good representation on my side that was super helpful with me. And then Speedo was also awesome, getting everything done super quickly, and kind of making sure that it was as seamless as it could be, since they knew I was here focusing on performing as well as I can at the Olympics. So that it was good. Lots of cooperation on both sides. On my representation and with Speedo was really good.
So again, congratulations. It's a big moment.
It is.
And let's take it back to Olympic trials for just a quick recap. You get fifth in the 200 freestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of on that bubble of, well, I think I made the relay, but we gotta wait and see.
Not official. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you book your ticket, 100 free. You get second behind Caleb. So you're on two relays. Probably you're on relays, and you got that individual 100 free. How would you break down your performances at trials?
Yeah. This past year I've kind of really focused on the 100 free. It's been kind of as we were coming back from quarantine, I had a conversation with the coaches at IU and said, I really think that I have a chance to potentially win this event and next year at the Olympics. And so we changed a couple of things in training, brought the volume down a little bit, up the intensity in some places, and really was going for that 100 free full on. It was kind of the main focus. It went through the 2 free, went a lifetime best in the semi. Was super happy with that. I was pumped going into. I think I was second going into the final, and I was like, I didn't think I was probably going to make the individual spot. I thought there were some guys that were probably had a little bit more left than I did. I kind of left it all in the semi, but I definitely wanted to be part of that relay. It's something that I take huge pride in, as being part of those relays for Team USA, and something that is a big honor. And so coming in fifth, I was, fourth would have been nice to have that spot guaranteed. But like I said, I was focusing on the 100, and I had a group chat with some guys from back home, that I swam with in high school, and they were like, "Oh, like, good job." And I was like, "It's all right. I'm gonna make the 100. I'm not really worried about it." And so I was pretty confident after going to lifetime best in the 2 free, having focused on that 100 free so much all this past year, that I was going to be able to make the team in the 100. I think going through prelims felt super nice. Finals or semis similarly, and going to the final. I mean, I was extremely confident that I was going to be first or second in that race, and so to have it come out that way is pretty nice. And to book the spot is awesome. So yeah, it was a lot of excitement.
Did you enjoy having the 200 free first?
I don't know. I mean, 3-2 freeze takes a lot out of you, and so it would have been nice to have the 100 first, but it was nice to get that to do that and do well, to take that confidence into the 100 was nice.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was just curious because I think a lot of people don't take into consideration event lineup at a meet like this, but I do think it matters, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So like you said, it takes a lot out of you, but gives you the confidence, kind of that give and take. What was your taper like for trials, knowing that you have this Olympics and knowing that you've had this experience of kind of having these double tapers leading up, whether that's in the NCAA or on the international stage?
Yeah. I'm usually a pretty good double taper swimmer. Usually my second time around is better. I've seen that through conference and NCAAs or in 2019 even from WUGS to Worlds. Because I had a great WUGS, I went lifetime best, and then I would say I had even better relay performances at Worlds just 4 or 5 weeks later. And so I have kind of figured out how to do it, but obviously going into trials, nobody's holding anything back. It's the U.S. Olympic team, and it's not an easy one to make. And so, yeah, we were all in for trials, but I was all in for those meets previously as well, and then just came back up a little bit for a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then we're on the way back down with we're like 6 or 7 days out. So exciting.
We saw a lot of stuff. We saw a lot of stuff on social media. All these pretty pictures from Hawaii. Can you take us through the Olympic camp and how that looked for you, especially with that kind of, I guess the first week, maybe you're going up in volume a little and then you start coming down?
Yeah. It's awesome. I mean, camp's always super fun. Usually there's a lot of guys that we're all good friends and we all know each other. We don't really get to hang out that much because we live in different corners of the country, but we get to come together for these, a couple weeks and hang out and be just a bunch of guys being dudes. But this time around, it's been a little bit different because there's so many new guys that a lot of us don't really know. And so that's been super fun to get to know them too. And there are also a bunch of great guys that we're now going to be friends with because we're Olympians together, which is kind of a cool bonding experience that not a lot of people get to do. But so that first week, and nobody's really feeling great in the water. I think we're all kind of post taper, trying to get a little bit of work in before we come back down. But yeah, since that first week in camp, everybody's kind of been on the way back down. And I think yesterday we all suited up, not all, but a lot of us put suits on and did broken swims or stuff like that. And it was cool to see everybody starting to get sharpened up again and start to go fast. And it's pretty inspiring to have the whole Olympic team, kind of behind you. It's pretty fun.
Can you tell us about your suited swims? How'd you feel about them?
Yeah. Yesterday I did. I felt really good about them. I did just 2 times through, a 35 dive, 15 easy on 120, and then a 50 back end for the 100. And so trying to set up that front end speed without getting too much taxation on the body, and then really hammer that back end speed home. They went super well. I think on my back ends I was like 23.7 and 23.5, which probably isn't quite what I'm going to bring home the 100 in, but it's nice to do that in a broken swim. So yeah, I was feeling really good though.
Dude, if you're coming home in 23.7, I think we're a lock for gold.
Yeah, I think so.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, it felt nice.
So outside of the pool during camp, not to put you on the spot, was there any guy who personality wise has stuck out to you, especially a newbie on the team?
Yeah, man, a lot of these younger guys are hilarious, and like two guys that really stick out are like Jake Mitchell and Drew Kibler. They're both just like goons. They're like meme lords. They're super fun to hang out with, and it's super cool to see these guys come in. And I feel like we've been really good at meshing as a team. I don't feel like any guy feels like they're left out or like below anyone else. I feel like this whole team feels like we're all here for one goal, and that's to represent the United States. And we've kind of bonded over that, and nobody feels like they're above or below anyone. Everyone feels like comfortable talking to anybody. It's been really awesome.
That sounds really nice. It's interesting because obviously you don't have some of the veteran guys, Nathan Adrian, Matt Grievers, some of those guys who've been on 10 plus national teams over the last decade. So not only do you have Caleb Dressel, Ryan Murphy as the men's team captains, but also you have guys like you who've been on a few national teams at this point, but now I'm guessing you're probably in a little bit more of a position of leadership or seniorship at least. What is that like for you, and what is that like seeing those guys and Caleb and Ryan that leading as captains?
Yeah, man, it was kind of weird. I got to camp like the first few days, and I was like, chatting with all the guys, and they're all talking about what year in school they are and whatnot. And I was like, man, I've been graduated for 2 years. This is it's kind of weird. But yeah, I definitely do feel like I'm more of a veteran, so-called, at this point. I think this is my fifth year on the national team. And so, yeah, there's definitely a lot of guys here. This is their first national team trip where I'm really like the role of having them be able to come to me and ask questions, and I'm glad that a lot of them feel comfortable doing that. Because I remember my first national team trip. You show up, or even before the trip, I was DMing Brooks, for example, just like making sure he was good on like knowing what he needed to bring, or like he was like the first time filling out like doping whereabouts. He was like kind of confused about that. I'm like, he asked me questions, and so it's cool to be able to help these younger guys just figure it out, because I've been through it a couple times now, and I'm glad that I can pass some of that information on and make it easier for some of the next guys, and hopefully improve their performance a little bit so they don't be quite as stressed.
Yeah. What has your training group looked like for the camp in Hawaii and then for here in Tokyo as well? Are you with a certain coach or do you bounce around?
Yeah, I kind of bounce around. I've been doing a lot of just like home practices, but if there's like a couple of guys who are doing something similar, we'll try and mesh practices together, and so that we can have some new training partners. We did a 200 pace set with Selly one morning, where I just kind of hopped over with the Cal guys and Durden ran that group. So that was super fun. It's always nice to like get with some guys that you don't know how they train. It's just because you kind of go into it blind. If I train with Blake every Saturday or whatever, we know how each other are going to attack the set. We can kind of game it against each other and try and win the set or whatever. But it's nice to hop in with guys you don't know how they train and how they perform in practice, and just kind of just blindly race, because that's going to be a lot of it is at the game. So it's nice.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. I mean, on that note, do you feel more comfortable just knowing, especially on these relays, that you have raced these international teams before? You might have some idea of just what to expect in that environment of 400 free relay going up against Russia, Brazil, Australia, Britain.
Yeah, I definitely do. It's definitely going to be nice having done it, for the past couple of years. Just having the experience, just knowing what it feels like to stand behind the blocks with 4 guys from the United States against, all these other guys from whatever country they may be from. It's a different feeling than standing behind the blocks with your college team or with a club team or anything like that. There's a lot of confidence that comes with having the United States flag on your cap, and a lot of responsibility also. But with that comes, I think, great performance usually. And I'm really excited to get behind the blocks with those 4 guys, whoever that it may end up being on that finals relay, and let one rip with them.
Yeah. I want to take a bit of a dive into that confidence that you build over time, and obviously in these relays, starting with the 400 free relay. So in 2019, your summer started at WUGS, World University Games in Italy. You guys just ripped 400 free relay. I think you're like 3:13.
Yeah, something like that. I think it might have been a little bit faster. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was.
I think we would have met. I think that team would have medaled at the previous World Championships, whatever it ended up being.
Yeah, and I think I want to say they would have gotten 4th at the 2019 Worlds.
Yeah.
But so you guys just blew it out of the water. Then you did your rest of the meet, and then you went to World Championships. So heading into Worlds, do you feel like you had an extra leg up on the other guys because you're like, well, I've already swam this summer. I already kind of know where I'm at. Like I'm firing. Did you feel pretty good headed into that 400 free relay at World Champs?
Definitely. Coming off that WUGS meet, like you said, I knew that I was in good shape, that I was swimming fast, that I was firing all cylinders, and so I was very excited to get back up again and race some more on that next relay. Kind of touching again how I've on that second taper, I knew it usually worked out well for me, and so I was super excited to get up and race again that summer.
Yeah. And obviously you guys dominated that race too. I mean, I think you won by nearly a second.
Yeah, I think so.
And so then we've covered this a lot, but just heading into this 400 free relay, I think it's fair to say the U.S. or the men are the favorite. But just for you personally, having those wins under your belt, even whether you guys win, whatever, just the confidence you have heading into that race particularly, do you feel pretty good about it, knowing that this team has been so dominant leading up to this meet?
Definitely. I like to say that we're going in not with the expectation to win, because I think when you expect to win, you get a little complacent, and it can be a little lackluster sometimes. And so, but we're definitely going in with the idea that we're going for gold, and we're competing for it, and we're not going to overlook any other countries. Russia looks super strong this year, for sure. I think they have 4 guys who have been 48.0 or faster, and so we're definitely not overlooking that. We know, a lot of us know what our competition looks like and what they've been doing, and so we're going in with not with the expectation to win, but the expectation to compete for it, and to have that opportunity to go for gold. But like I said, we're not going to overlook anybody, and I don't think we see ourselves as an easy favorite. I think we're going in, confident in our abilities and ready to compete.
And then similarly, it's certainly a different story with the 4x2. Where Worlds, you guys got bronze in an exceedingly close race, like first through fifth,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I think 5 teams were dead even at the 750. And then you guys won at WUGS, so you were coming off a different mentality from 2019 Worlds. Do you have to do something different to kind of get into that same headset for the 4x2 of we're competing for gold?
I don't think so. I think when you put on that, the USA cap, I think the expectation is you're always going to compete to win. It doesn't really matter what has happened previously. That we're the 4 best the US has to put forward, and that hopefully that's the good enough to win the gold, and that we're again expecting to compete for the win. No matter what. Kind of how I touched similarly on, we know what a lot of our competition has looked like leading up to this. But again, swimming is such a sport where it's all about the day of the race. So anything can happen.
So you guys have been in Tokyo for less than a week?
It'll be a little bit less than like 5 or 6 days, 5 days, I think.
Okay. So can you give me a little insight into what goes into that adjustment period? Obviously, you have to get on the time zone. I'm guessing being in Hawaii for an extended period helped with that. But for anyone who hasn't traveled internationally and certainly traveled to compete internationally, what goes into just kind of getting ready to race in a different country?
Yeah. Definitely the stop in Hawaii for 2 weeks definitely helped with the time zone adjustment. I think it was like 6 hours to here from the East Coast, and then another 5-hour change or 6 hours to Hawaii, and then 5 hours to here, time zone changes. And so 5 hours isn't terrible to adjust to. At the end of the day, you're getting a little bit tired, just because it's 8 o'clock, but it's really like 1 a.m. or something. So in your body, so by the end of the day, you're getting a little bit tired, and you're waking up a little bit early at the beginning, but that adjusts pretty quickly. And then besides that, it's just kind of making sure you get back onto routine, get into training, get up in the mornings, make sure that you're not going to bed when you get super tired at 7:30, especially here, because I think finals start, or prelims, I guess, start at 7 p.m. And so I don't think prelims ends until 9:30. And so, make sure you try and stay up a little bit later, just because that's going to be the clock you're on once you start competing. Besides that, just making sure you stay kind of on track, just keep hammering away at training, and yeah.
Do you feel pretty good about the night prelims, morning finals?
Yeah. A lot of people have asked. I think if you can't get up for a semifinal or a final at the Olympics, just because it's in the morning, you're going to struggle a bit, but I think that it'll be all right.
Yeah. For you personally, nutritionally, is traveling easy, or do you have certain things that you like particularly when you travel food wise?
No, I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to diet, especially when you're with Team USA. They obviously take care of us super well. Make sure that we have plenty of options, and the food's healthy enough. I'm not like a super health nut or anything, but it's not too bad for me, and I'm not very picky when it comes to food. I'll eat just about anything. So
Is being in Tokyo, are the restrictions due to COVID noticeable, or how you operate in terms of maybe 2019 when you guys were in Guangzhou?
For sure. We're pretty locked down. We're not allowed to leave the hotel outside of going to training. we actually have like a Team USA has like a separate elevator to keep us away from the general public. It's the service elevator, so like it says like designated guests or something, but it's just like the service elevator. But and so yeah, where it's definitely noticeable. We'll see what it's like once we get into the village tomorrow, but yeah, it's pretty serious, and we're definitely not going out to lunch anywhere.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That seems good though. Do you
Yeah.
is that obviously it's not ideal, but is that almost enjoyable? Does it help you keep the focus of what you're there for?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it would be nice to go and get some sushi while you're in Japan, which is a bit of a bummer. When we were here in 18, there was like a sushi restaurant right for Pan Packs in 18. There was like a sushi belt place where like went around and you just like took plates off the belt, and then we ate there like all the time. It was like right across the street from the hotel, and it was like super nice to be able to like get some super good sushi for pretty cheap. But yeah, it definitely does. There is a factor where it's like, well, all the distractions are kind of canceled for us. We can't really go out. Nobody's going to be getting their legs super tired from walking over Tokyo. And so, yeah, there's definitely a factor that is probably good. And like you said, cuts down distractions.
Yeah. Does this feel similar to ISL season 2 at all when you were in that Budapest bubble?
Yeah, for sure. Very similar. Yeah, I mean, we're in a hotel, not really allowed to go anywhere except for the pool. So yeah, pretty similar setup.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, so last thing, I have to ask about this 100 free final. We in the media are billing it as, Dressel versus Chalmers.
Yeah.
We've obviously got 16-year-old David Popovici now, who dropped a 47-3. Like you said, the Russians are on fire. They're looking really good. But we were doing our Olympic preview podcast yesterday, and we were talking about this race, and it's like I'm thinking in the back of my head, dude, like Zach Apple, like I think you might have the most momentum of anyone heading into this race. How are you feeling about that 100 free individual, especially considering this is your first individual at a world champs
senior level
or Olympics? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everybody is talking about Chalmers and Dressel, and it kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off, makes it easy to kind of sneak in there underneath them. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going in with a similar mindset to the relays, where I'm going in with, in my mind, I'm competing for the gold medal. A lot of people want to say it's a two-man race, and like you said, there's some young guns and some Russians and stuff that they're putting their name in the hat as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm expecting to be in that top 3 range, and if you're in there, you definitely have a chance to win. And so, yeah, I feel good about it. I'm, like you said, I feel like I'm on a good track, kind of leading into the summer, into the games. And so, yeah, I'm definitely putting myself in there in my own head, even if nobody else really is talking about it. So which is, fine. I'm not offended by that. The results in the past say that it should be a 2-man race, but it doesn't always happen like that.
I love it. Yeah, you're right. As long as it's in your head, we're good to go.
Yeah.
Again, this might not matter, and probably at a certain point it doesn't. But event wise, I'm guessing you've looked at kind of where you'll be swimming, relays, and individuals. What is your event? What's your schedule look like, and are you pretty happy with where that 100 free falls right on days 4 and 5 in the middle?
Yeah, it's good. 4 free relay, I think, is on day 2, like night 2 and morning 3. And then get a good break, 36 hours off until the 100 free. The 100 free and the 8 free relay are on the same day. And so I'll at least be on the prelims of that 8 free relay. Then it'll be a coach's decision on who's on that final 4. But I think there's, in the semifinal of the 100 free to the 8 free relay is like 2 hours. So it's like plenty of time if it ends up being that I'm on that final 8 free relay. And so that's not a big deal either. Yeah, then the 100 free final the next morning, it'll be just by itself, and then 4 medley hopefully at the end of the meet. Yeah, so I feel like it's lined up pretty well. It'd be nice if those weren't doubles. Those 100 free, 8 free relay wasn't a double, but there's plenty. I think prelims is like 90 minutes in between, and finals is like 2 hours. So it's nothing crazy to manage.
That does seem pretty good. 100 free and 200. Yeah, like you said, not ideal, but nothing too crazy to manage either, which is good. So you guys are in Tokyo. The Olympics start in a week, which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
Do you feel the energy, the excitement kind of ramping up just within Team USA?
Yeah, for sure. I kind of touched on earlier yesterday, everybody suiting up and going fast just kind of sparks that energy. It's fun to see. I'm assuming once we move into the village, it'll get even a little bit more. And then get to the competition pool, start walking through, seeing the ready room, seeing the pool setup, get a little bit more, and then it'll just kind of build throughout next week until that first prelim session where kind of all culminates. So it's going to be super fun.
Obviously, the with all the restrictions and what you can and can't do, it's different. But is that energy different than maybe trips you've been on for World Championships, World U's, Pan Packs?
It's pretty similar. I think once we get into the village and get around some of the other Team USA athletes, it'll be a little bit different because it's just multi-sport. Just seeing other sports is kind of cool. I kind of had that similar experience at WUGS. It's just fun to see other sports and see just like what they're doing, what they're up to, just chat, talk about whatever it is. So that's something that's kind of unique but and fun. But it's pretty similar leading into a world championships as it is into the games. Maybe it'll be notched up a little bit once we get into the village, but pretty similar.
Gotcha. Well, Zach, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat. We've been talking to world champion, World University Games champion, and Speedo athlete Zach Apple. Zach, any parting thoughts before we sign off today?
Not too much. Just super excited to get into the games and start competing again. It's kind of what we work for. So hopefully we come home with some medals.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.